Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Sathija Monagay, and today we're taking a verbal reasoning section. It won't be a full section of verbal reasoning from the GRE, but it'll be the free practice preview tool that's on the ETS website. I haven't done vocab in a really long time, so I might be a little rusty on some of the words, but hopefully this video will give you an idea of what you might want to be thinking about during your exam and how to approach these types of questions.
All right, let's get right into it. So we're at the 60-second pause in the test preview tool of the ETS GRE. And this is the verbal reasoning section. Let's hop right in. This passage suggests that glasses work displays which of the following qualities. So I usually like to read the question really quickly and then read through the passage. So we're looking for this work displays which of these qualities. Reviving practice of using elements. So it's reviving the practice of using elements of pop music in classical composition. So I imagine that it's a return to the use of pop music in this composition to elevate. Popular elements. His music is not a version of pop music packaged to attract classical listeners. It is high art for listeners steeped in rock rather than the classics. So I think Glass's work displays this quality: a return to the use of pop music in classical compositions, an attempt to elevate rock music to an artistic status more closely approximating that. I don't think so because of this, what's said here. And then a long-standing tendency to incorporate elements from two. Is it a long-standing tendency? Maybe we can come back to this question, but for now we'll say 1 and 3. The passage addresses which of the following issues related to Glass's use of pop elements in his classical component. So which of the following are addressed is the question. So how it is regarded by listeners who prefer rock to the classics. Pop elements do not appear out of place. Certain harmonies. Yet this use of pop elements has not made him a composer of pop music. His music is not a version of popular music packaged to attract classical listeners. It is high art for listeners steeped in rock. So I believe because of this last sentence that this kind of indicates that the listeners are steeped in rock rather than the classics. And I think this is just selecting one answer. Affected whether it has contributed detrimental effect. So I believe this because of that sentence that I stated. Select the sentence that distinguishes two ways of integrating rock and classical music. I feel like this is what we're talking about at the end here. Let's double check. So this had been in hibernation. Glass based 2 symphonies on music by rock musicians, but they sound distinctively his. Pop music did not appear. Select a sentence that distinguishes two ways of integrating rock and classical music. So what are the two ways? Glass based 2 symphonies on music by rock musicians, but the symphony, I don't think it's that sentence. What about the very first sentence? I don't think it's that one. I don't think it's the second sentence. I don't think it's this one either. So let's see. Yet this use of popular elements. I think this is the the distinction. His music is not a version of pop music packaged to attract these listeners, but it is this other way, high art for listeners steeped in rock. So let's go with that. For each blank, select one entry from the corresponding column of choices. It is refreshing to read a book about our planet by an author who does not follow facts to be blank by politics. Well aware of the political disputes about the effects of human activities on climate and biodiversity, This author does not permit them to blank his comprehensive description of what we know about our biosphere. So this seems like he's saying it's this author does not allow facts to be like muddled by politics, so muddied or something like that. I don't think it's overshadowed. It might be. It's one of these two, right? Overshadowed, invalidated. Illuminated does not fit here. Illuminated means like it's a kind of a positive connotation. So I think overshadowed by politics is correct here. And then this author does not permit them to influence his comprehensive description of what we know about our biosphere. Obscure. I think that's a really good word here. Kind of muddies it. Obscure his comprehensive description. Just checking back on time, we're doing good. He emphasizes the enormous gaps in our knowledge, the sparseness of our observations, and the blank. So this should be something kind of like negative. Gap in our knowledge, sparseness of the observation. So a negative one here. Plausibility of our hypotheses, probably not. Certainty of our entitlement, I'm not sure. Superficiality of our theories. Now this one again kind of fits this like negative theme here. Gap in our knowledge, sparseness of observation, and superficiality of our theories. And the word superficiality means what? Superficial, which is like not really based in something super substantial, super concrete. I think superficial kind of has that sort of connotation. So we'll continue on. And I think we'll have time to come back and check these. For each blank, select one entry from the corresponding column of choices. Vain and prone to violence, Caravaggio could not handle success. The more his blank as an artist increased, the more blank his life became. So he could not handle success. So it seems that the more maybe his fame increased, the more bad his life became, something like this. So temperance, notoriety, eminence. So I'm pretty sure eminence, my vocab is again, as I said, a little bit rough, but these two I think mean fame. And I think notoriety, it might be better in this situation, but I'm pretty sure both of these have similar meanings. So I'm going to go with notoriety. I'm trying to think about this one though. I'm not very sure. Yeah, I think I'll go with notoriety. And then blank 2, the more bad his life became. So tumultuous means like volatile and negative. Providential, I'm not sure what that means. Sounds positive. Dispassionate, so I think it's tumultuous here. In parts of the Arctic, the land grades, actually now that I'm thinking about this, I think to be notorious, you might have to be, it might be a negative connotation. Anyway, this is a good example of just needing to know your vocab. I'm going to switch it to eminence here, because I think notoriety has to be about kind of a negative character perhaps. And if I get this wrong, I get this wrong. It's a good learning experience, but yeah. In parts of the Arctic, the land grades into the land-fast ice, so blank that you can walk off the coast and not know you are over the hidden sea. Land grades into land-fast so quickly, seamlessly maybe, something like this. The land becomes land-fast ice. So seamlessly, probably, something like that. So not noticeably. So let's see if there's a word that fits that. Permanently, I don't think so. Imperceptibly, I think that's a fantastic word for this. Irregular, precarious means dangerous, relentlessly. I think for here, imperceptibly is the best word. And this is this again shows the importance of needing to know vocabulary, because this is just straight, what is the definition of this word? What is the best meaning that fits this context? Select the two answer choices that, when used to complete the sentence, fit the meaning of the sentence as a whole, and produce these completed sentences that are like. So we need two answer choices. Cynics believe that people who blank compliments do so in order to be praised twice. So let's look at conjure up means, create compliments, covet, deflect compliments, grasp, shrug off, understand. So the interesting thing about this type of question is that you sometimes you can answer the question even without reading it, just by looking at the answer choices. And here there are two answer choices that fit within this context of this question, and they are very, very similar. And the two words that I would say are deflect here and shrug off, because they both have very similar meanings. And if you plug it back in, it still makes sense. Cynics believe that people who deflect compliments do so in order to be praised twice. And shrug off. Cynics believe that people who shrug off compliments do so in order to be praised twice. I think that makes sense, and we've selected our two answer choices. So that was question 7 out of 7. So let's go back to question 1, since we have some time. Okay, so the passage suggests that glass work displays which of the following qualities. Now I'm going to read this once more since we have some time, just silently reading through, and I'll follow along with my mouse. So the passage suggests that glass's work displays which of the following qualities? A return to use of pop music in classical compositions. I think that should be correct because of this sentence. Reviving means coming back to life, this practice. So I think that's a fair answer. And then 3, a long-standing tendency to incorporate elements from two. So the passage suggests that glass's work displays the quality of a long-standing tendency to incorporate elements from two apparently disparate musical styles. I think that is a like the only question that I have about this is the tendency long-standing, and I think it's okay to say that it's a long-standing tendency. It definitely does incorporate elements from two apparently disparate styles of music. And then an attempt to elevate rock music to artistic status more closely of that of classical music. I think because of the last sentence, this is clearly incorrect. So we'll move on. Question 2. So the passage addresses which of the following. I felt pretty confident about this one because we said how it's regarded by listeners who prefer rock to the classics. So it addresses this issue. But do not appear. Well, let's see. How does this? The commercial success is never mentioned. Whether it has contributed to a revival of interest among other composers in pop elements, I don't think this has been covered. Whether it has contributed, whether it has had a detrimental effect on his reputation, I don't think that has been addressed at all here. His music, I don't think his reputation is really mentioned here or concerned in this passage. Whether it has caused certain of glass works to be derivative in quality, I think derivative means like negative. It's a negative word, and I don't think this is true either. How it is regarded by listeners who prefer rock to the classics. So that's why I would say from the sentence that it is this first answer. Select the sentence that distinguishes two ways. Pretty confident about this one. For each blank, select one entry from the corresponding column. Overshadowed, I think definitely obscure. Underscore is a positive word, and here we're looking for a negative word for number 2. Shadow, invalidated, superficiality. I think those 3 are strong answers. Question 5. This is the one that I'm really not sure about. Eminence. And actually, just as a note, sometimes for vocab, it's easier to memorize if you associate kind of a feeling or a person or something with that. That's like a common memorization trick. And for eminence, I remember that my word that I associated with this was Eminem, like the rapper. And that rapper is very famous. So I'm pretty sure that this means famous, or it's some other quality about Eminem. But notoriety, I'm pretty sure that it has to be a negative connotation. But we'll see. We'll see. So here we're going with eminence, and I think tumultuous should be correct here. Second to last question. Here we were able to predict the word really nicely. Imperceptibly, unable to be perceived. Cynics believe that people who deflect or shrug off. I think that should be correct. So here we've reached the end of the section. Now let's go back and check the answers. So hopefully we did okay. So 1 and 3, I think that is correct. 2 was choice 5. I can't remember what 2 was for us, but 3 was sentence 5, correct? Overshadowed, obscure, superficiality, very good. And yes, 5 was eminence. Okay, I'm glad we talked through that one. Tumultuous is good, imperceptibly. So we have gotten 7 out of 7 on this practice test after I checked that 2 is choice 5. Let's see. Okay, so actually it seems that question 2 we got incorrectly, which is actually good for this video, so we can talk about why I missed that question. So the passage addresses which of the following issues related to Glass's use of pop elements in his classical compositions. So I thought that it was how it is regarded by listeners who prefer rock to the classics because of this sentence. So his music is not a version of pop music packaged to attract classical listeners. It is high art for listeners steeped in rock rather than the classics. I think maybe my misunderstanding here was that this steeped in rock was talking about the listeners, for listeners steeped in rock. But I think actually what this sentence means is that it is high art for listeners, and it's high art that is steeped in rock rather than the classics. So I think that's what the misunderstanding here was. So let's read question 5, or answer choice 5 again. Whether it has caused certain of Glass's works to be derivative in quality. Let's see. Oh, actually, what does derivative? Let's look at the definition of derivative if we can't answer this. Oh, actually, that's true. So this is another great example of why we should know vocab. Derivative definition. Because I think derivative means like coming from something else, right? Imitative of the work of another person. So that's why this is the correct answer. This isn't the negative connotation that I thought of. Derivative means is it very similar or imitating another work, and that's because it is addressed right here. But the symphony's sound is distinctively his. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This is my attempt at taking this test preview tool for the ETS GRE. I'm really glad that we missed this question and we were able to talk through. Hopefully this gives you some sort of idea on how to approach your own verbal reasoning sections. If you have a comment, drop it down below and I will definitely get to responding to you. My name is Sathija Monage, and I'll see you next time.